Alrighty, it has been a pleasure speaking to you off camera. We got to speak a little bit about the role, the duties that it entails. But Lashamera, I want to go ahead and set the stage here. I want to go over your professional experience really briefly, and I'll go ahead and give you the mic. I have your resume here. Your latest role, you're working as a program supervising um, over 130 personnel. You've also worked as an office assistant or referral coordinator as well at the Sleep Wake Disorder Center in Daytona. You worked as a teacher at the Children's Academy. You worked as a patient service rep and a few other roles in medical facilities. So, Lashamira, I would love for you to take the mic. Tell me a little bit about yourself and professional experience.
Okay, so I'm 30 years old. I have a bachelor's degree in business management. A lot of my duties, I work with people. I manage DSPs. I was a teacher. When I worked at the orthopedic clinic, well, I'll just say different doctors' offices. I did a lot of front desk, office management, referral coordinating, and just trying to keep the doctor on track, on task. That was,
Absolutely.
yeah, a lot of my role.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about that role.
Mhm.
Tell me what your day to day looked like. What it looked like when you're supervising, your team. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I would come in, make sure that everybody was in place. Like we would make their schedule for them, and we would just try to keep them on track, keep them on task. A lot of the time, we did ledgers, and that's keeping up because although I kept up with the DSPs, I also had to keep up with the clients, like monies, like where their money was going, how much was spent on like different outings, and we kept up with the receipts, and we sent that off to different like case managers, and just to make sure that their money was being used like accordingly. um let's see.
So tell me when you were leading your team. I believe you mentioned you were leading about 130 personnel.
Hmm. Yeah.
So tell me what it looked like. Did you handle the onboarding? Were you interviewing personnel and you were coordinating their schedules, of
Mhm.
course. But tell me a little bit more into depth about what it looked like with overseeing the team.
Okay, so I did interviews, a lot of interviews. I had to make sure that, they were qualified for the job, on top of just making sure, because a lot of the time we'll get DSPs. They would say that, oh, I did this, I've done this, I can do this. But then when you put them on the floor, it was like a completely different story. So I had to make sure that they had the proper training as well. Because at the end of the day, it's like they're already here. Now we have to get them trained. So we'd get them trained. We would make sure that they were doing the clients' daily activities, and what that was daily activities, like their movements. We would have to keep them, because although they're disabled, we would have to keep them moving too, so that they could, you know, sometimes they could gain use of their limbs, even if, they can't move them at the time. We would just have to stay on top of keeping them like moving. And we had therapists, we had physical therapists, we had behavioral therapists, and we also had like a nutritionist, and we would all have to communicate via email just to make sure that they were doing their job too, and everybody was just on task to make sure that we were, giving the clients what they needed. And so the DSPs, their main job was to like do the activities, as far as like whatever the therapist would implement, they would have to do it like with the client. And I would just have to stay on top of that and make sure that they were doing it, because it's easy to kind of like, slack off and just, but
That's
they did
right.
a pretty good job.
Well, that sounds great. And we're speaking about scheduling. You would schedule, your clinical staff scheduling. But did you ever have to handle any last minute cancellations or any schedule conflicts between, let's say, the therapist and the patients?
So it was mostly the DSPs. Like
Okay.
I really managed them. And if they were, a lot of the time, when they would call up, we were short staffed a lot. So I would make it my business to work out on the floor with them because I did have that experience. So I would work out on the floor. And sometimes my supervisor would even come in and work on the floor. That's how that job kind of ran. We didn't have like, it was just kind of hard to keep like the positions, like we didn't have like backup people or anything. We would have to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how was the retention at that facility?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, your retention at that facility. So, was there a lot of, new hires, people leaving, or was it just a lack of personnel?
The turnover was high. A lot
Okay.
left. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No worries at all. Alrighty. And then, so, tell me a little bit about any systems that you've worked with, EMRs or scheduling systems, which ones you're familiar with.
I work with Athena Health. Let's see, Office Alley. Um, I'm trying to think. It was so many.
Yeah, no
Office.
worries.
Uh, Cora Health. That was for physical therapy when I worked at the orthopedic clinic. Um,
Yeah, and then how about, any of the more systems that we utilize, like Google for emails or Outlook for emails,
Team,
Excel?
yeah, Teams, Excel, Google Docs, Google Meet, um,
Awesome.
the whole Google.
Absolutely.
I'm
And
bad.
when it came down, because I know that in the medical field, it can get a little hectic when it comes down to, the call volumes or, the clients or the patients coming in and out. So how do you manage, your high volume caseloads and also ensuring that nothing falls through the cracks? How did it ensure that?
So if I had like a phone call and a client like in front of me, I would politely ask the client on the phone, could you please hold for just a second? And they'd hold and I just take care of the client in front of me. And then let's say another client came up and I didn't want to keep the client on the phone on hold. So could you please give me a moment? And then I would, proceed to the phone call and then I'd let the client know, I'm so sorry about that. And that part normally ran pretty smooth because they could understand most of the time, like the different doctor's offices I worked in, it was just me. So
Um,
they could understand. And they would say, oh, I don't know how you do it. Like you do such a good job. You always have a smile on your face. It's it's what
That's amazing feedback. It sounds like your customer service is amazing. So what does customer service mean to you? Given the feedback that you gave me, it sounds like you're very passionate about what you do, but overall, what does customer service mean to you?
I just feel like without the customer, like we're pretty much the business is nothing. So you have to give them everything, even if it's hard, even if you're having a bad day at home or you just got into an argument with your husband, you leave that behind you and you have to come in there and show the customers like I'm here for you. And I've always been that way, like hey, like even if I have to fake my smile, they won't see me have a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you worked a lot in, like medical facilities, clinics. But if a role came to us or an opportunity, came to us where it's more of an office, professional office setting, would you be opposed to that, or would you be open to another environment as well?
I'll be open to another environment, but I like the office setting. uh,
Yeah, you like the more of the medical?
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I went to school for, the medical billing and coding. And so, I kind of explored, like I did teaching and program supervise, but my thing is like office medical.
Yeah. Well, no worries at all. And what are you looking to get out of your next opportunity? What do you look forward to the most?
So this time around, because like I said, I am 30. Um,
Mhm.
I just want to grow within a company. Like I want to grow within a company. I want that company to be good. I want to be set like in the company. I want them to train me, tell me what they need from them as I tell them what I need from them.
Yes,
I want to grow. I want to be really successful within the company,
absolutely.
like my second home. So
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a beautiful aspiration, to grow within the company. I've seen in your resume as well how much you have grown. So I'm sure that will get you to a company that looks forward to the growth of their employees. So this has been amazing, Lashamera. I really appreciate your time. It has been lovely chatting with you. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording, but don't hang up on me. I want to continue chatting with you.
Okay.
Thank you.